I would say maybe the highlight of, even though there's so many wonderful moments during casting of Roots 2, was the day that Marlon Brando shot his scene. Now, you have to know that there was some concern that Marlon Brando wasn't. The producers weren't sure he would show up. So we hired Anthony Zerbe, paid Anthony Zerbe $5,000 to stand by. In my negotiations with Marlon Brando's attorney, I think his name Wally Wolf, he called, he says, well, so Marlon wants to be part of Roots 2. So you and I need to negotiate a deal for him. And he says, so here's what I think we should do. Who's the highest paid actor you have so far in the cast? I said, that's Paul Winfield. Paul Winfield is working for one day, and we're paying his salary is $12,500 for the day, plus 2 days of looping. He says, let's just, so the attorney says, let's just assume, may not be true, but let's assume that Marlon Brando is twice as good and twice as famous as Paul Winfield. Therefore, you should pay him twice as much. I said, sounds fair to me, I'll get approval and I'll call you back. So Marlon Brando was paid $25,000, for one day's work to play George Lincoln Rockwell in a scene with Alex Haley. Once again, because he's an artist, so unpredictable behavior, we hired Anthony to stand by. But the day when it came time for him to work, he received the call, and he was on the set. And I remember going to the set that day. It was a closed set, and there was James Earl Jones playing Alex Haley. And it was based on a real episode in Alex Haley's life where Alex Haley was given the assignment to interview George Lincoln Rockwell, the Nazi leader and racist. And so I could hear the rehearsal as I entered the soundstage. I could hear Marlon Brando's voice. I could hear the conversation. And I get close to the set. I could stand in the back and watch the rehearsal. And I see people holding up cue cards for Marlon to read. And there are cue cards on the ceiling. There are cue cards on the floor. And the conversation is something like with him questioning Alex Haley about his lineage. He says, you must have a lot of white blood in you to be as smart as you are. And he's saying these lines, and the lines he's saying is on a poster behind Alex's head. So then he takes his pipe and he shakes his pipe on the ground, and there's some dialogue on the ground, on the floor. And he says, because you're just too smart to have all Negro blood in you. So there's the conversation. And I'm looking at this, and when it was cut together, it was such a brilliant performance, but knowing that it was all, and I'd heard about the cue cards that Marlon, he would read the script and he'd come to work and it was all cue cards. But he has such a technique that you didn't realize that. So even when I look at The Godfather now and I see the performance, that, Don Corleone is looking around. Every look there, his eyes are landing on the cue card. But I still think he's a brilliant actor. The scene was brilliant. James Earl was fantastic. It was just one of the highlights of that experience with Roots 2.
Yeah, Brando won an Emmy for that
role.
He
won an Emmy, and I don't know if he was there to accept. I don't think he accepted, but if he had accepted, he probably would have needed a cue card.